Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about subject pronouns. Okay, hopefully you guys memorized them, you looked over them this weekend, and that way this lesson will be a little more easy for you instead of you having to learn two things. Okay, so subject pronouns you guys have in English, we also have in Spanish, so then today you guys are going to learn the difference. Okay, and remember, you guys fill in what is missing on your slides. Fill it in with the words that are underlined in the presentation. Okay? Alright, so let's get started. So it says, in order to use verbs, you will need to learn about subject pronouns. A subject pronoun replaces the name or title of a person or thing and acts as the subject of a verb. Okay, so in Spanish, these are our subject pronouns. So yo is I, tú is you, familiar, and remember there's two yous in Spanish. Okay, usted is formal you, and the difference we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, él is he, ella is she. On the plural side, we have nosotros, which is we masculine, or it can be a combination of, men and women. Then you have nosotras, which is feminine. We don't do nosotros. It's not used very often here in the States, so we don't really use vosotros, so you won't be required to memorize that. But we do use ustedes, which is a plural form of usted. Okay, so ustedes would be you plural. So like in our case, a lot of the times we say you all or we say y'all. Okay, so ustedes would be you plural. And then you have ellos, which is they, and then you have ellas, which is also they, but it's feminine. Okay, all girls. Ellos can be masculine as far as all guys, or it can be a combination of guys and girls. Remember, the masculine form is always used if it's a group of guys and girls. Okay? Alright, so it says Spanish has two subject pronouns that mean you. Okay, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. You use tú when addressing a friend, a family member, or a child you know well. For me, a family member would be more like your brother, your sister, a younger sibling, not necessarily your parents. Some of my Spanish speakers, you guys might use tú for your parents. I personally use usted, but I mean, it's up to you guys. But I would mainly refer to family members that are older, like mom or dad, or grandparents, as usted. Okay, so moving on to that one, it says use usted to address a person with whom you have a formal or more distant relationship, such as a supervisor at work, a teacher, or an older person. Okay, so that's when you would use usted. So examples that they gave you at the bottom here, it says tú eres de Canadá, ¿verdad, David? So you're from Canada, right, David? So it's just your friend, somebody that you know. So you're gonna address him informally, which would be tú. And then you guys will often see that as familiar. You'll see familiar next to it. Okay. Then you have usted es la profesora de español. So question, are you the Spanish teacher? So we're going to use usted because that's a little bit more formal. Alright. The masculine plural forms nosotros, and we skip vosotros, and ellos refer to a group of males or to a group of males and females. Okay, so the masculine form is used for both males or males and females. The feminine plural forms nosotras and ellas can refer only to groups made of exclusively of females. Okay, so we're going to use the as here for groups of females, and then os. Okay, notice that it has os for males or group of males and females. Okay, In Spanish, there is no Spanish equivalent of the English subject pronoun it. Generally, it is not expressed in Spanish. So there's really no word for it in Spanish. It's normally just understood. So when we look at the example, it says, es un problema. It's a problem. Okay, so notice here, it's an apostrophe S, so it's kind of saying it is. Es would be is, and it is just understood. So if you came up to me and you told me, and you said es un problema, I would understand that you're saying it's a problem. Okay, we just don't have the word it in Spanish. The next one says es una computadora. It's a computer. So again, it's just understood. Alright, so before we were talking about pronouns. Okay, all of these were pronouns. Now we're going to move on to the present tense of said. Okay, notice here, said. These are your pronouns, and now you're going to learn your first verb that goes with these pronouns. Okay, these pronouns you need to make sure you know, because you're going to base all of your verbs and your verb endings on these subject pronouns. So please, please, please get these down. Okay, it's really going to help you. Alright, so now we are moving on to the present tense of said. Okay, it says in contextos, so that's the assignment that you did with vocab. And fotonovela, you haven't watched any of that yet, but you will soon. You have already used several present tense forms of said, which means to be, to identify yourself and others, and to talk about where you and others are from. Said, to be, is an irregular verb. Okay, there's regular verbs and there's irregular verbs, and said happens to be irregular. Okay, its forms do not follow the regular patterns that most verbs follow. You need to memorize the forms which appear in this chart. Okay, so it's important that you memorize these. Alright, so you have the verb said, again, means to be. So for each pronoun, so remember, these are your pronouns. Okay, and this is singular, so it means it's only one person. And these are plural, so these would be the ones for more than one person. Okay, so for each pronoun, you have its own verb. Okay, so like in English, if I want to say the word am is are, okay, that's what said means. That's what it's going to change to. So if I want to say I am, I'm going to say yo soy. Okay, if I want to say you are and I want to be familiar, so I'm talking to a friend, I'm going to say tú eres. Okay, and I know you guys have probably heard, going back to I am, like I am Miss Mier. Yo soy Señora Mier. Okay, so you guys can say yo soy Isabel, yo soy Juan, whatever your name is, you can insert there, yo soy plus your name. Okay, so this one would be you are, then you have you are formal. Okay, so that changes, so it's going to be usted es, so you are, él es, which means he is, ella es, which means she is. And remember, when you guys learn the alphabet, your two L's make the Y sound. So I don't need to hear ella. That's wrong. Okay, it has to be ella es. Okay, so that means she is. Moving down to the plural pronouns. Okay, you have nosotros or nosotras. Okay, notice it's as. That's just the feminine form. Nosotros somos. We skip vosotros and we move on to ustedes son. So you plural are, or y'all are, if some of you guys want to say. I know a lot of you guys will end up saying y'all are. Then you have ellos son, which means they are, and you have ellas son, which also means they are. Okay, so you need to have this chart memorized with the subject, pronoun, and the verb. Okay, and I will put all this together in a little folder in your Google Classroom so you can always have this available to you, okay, since we can't make foldables right now. Alright, so I'll put it all together, then that way you have something to memorize. And remember, these are also found on Quizlet, your subject pronouns, but I will try my best to put the verbs with it as well. Okay? Alright, so when do we use said? Okay, later on you're going to learn another verb that also means am, is, and are. So it's important for you to understand, when do we use said? Okay, how do we use it? When do we use it? With what? And this is going to tell you. Okay, so if you know when to use it with said, you're going to know when to use the other one. Okay, so the first use of said is going to be to identify people and things. So if you look at the picture, we're identifying the girl in the picture. So it's saying es Marisa. So we're saying that's Marissa. She is Marissa. Okay. If we look at the next picture with the suitcase, it's saying es una maleta. We're identifying that. What is it? It's a suitcase. Okay. If we go up here to this question, it says ¿Quién es él? Who is he? And then we're going to respond, es Felipe Díaz Velázquez. We're identifying who that person is that they asked about. If we look at the next example over here, it says, ¿Qué es? What is it? We're going to identify that by saying, es un mapa de España. So we use said to identify people and things. We also use said to express possession. Okay, and in order to express possession, we have to use the preposition de. Okay, in Spanish, there is no Spanish equivalent for an apostrophe s. So you guys know how you would say, that's Maru's pencil. Okay, we don't have an apostrophe s. In Spanish, we have a noun. Well, in English, it's noun plus your apostrophe. In its place, you have the noun plus de plus the owner. Okay, so it's kind of like de is taking the place of your apostrophe s in English. Okay, so anytime you want to have or you want to show possession, it has to be in order. So it has to be the noun, then you're going to say de, then you're going to put the owner's name. So example, first is es because it's its. Here's my noun, diario. Okay, now there's de, so remember we have to use it with the preposition de. And who's the owner? Maru is the owner. Okay, so es el diario de Maru. And we use es. So if we look here, we use es because we're talking about one thing. It's only one diary. Okay, so it's Maru. Okay, so yes, it's Maru's diary. So we have to make sure that we follow this construction here. So again, it's the noun plus the owner anytime we're trying to show ownership. Okay, so again, if we go down here, we have son los lápices de la chica. Okay, so we're saying that they are the girl's pencils. So again, the reason we're using son is because we're talking about more than one pencil. Okay, over here, we're only talking about one diary, so we're going to use the singular form, which is es. Okay, los lápices is plural. Notice this is plural form, and then it ends in es, so we're going to use son. Okay, so then we have to have the preposition de, and then the owner, which is la chica. Okay, so son los lápices de la chica. They are the girl's pencils. If we actually translated this into English word for word, it wouldn't quite make sense. Okay, so if you actually have noun plus de plus the owner, then we understand when you're speaking it, writing it, that you're saying they are the girl's pencils. Okay. Alright, so when de is followed by the article el, the two combine to form the contraction del. Okay, just like we use cannot and then we change it to can't, this is similar. So de does not contract with la, las, or los. Okay, so if we skip down here, de plus el equals del. Okay, and that's just for pronunciation purposes, so we're not saying de el conductor, we're simply saying del. It runs together, it sounds smoother. Okay, so the example that I gave you guys es el diario de el estudiante. Okay, so notice de and el are together, and we need to combine those. So it should say es el diario del estudiante. Okay, so make sure that you guys use a contraction anytime you guys see de and el together, and I'm sure that'll be on your work also. Okay, so remember that it's a contraction. De plus el equals del. Another reason we use sed is for expressing origin. So it says sed also uses the preposition de to express origin. The definition of de is also of or from. So you guys are going to see de quite often, but it can mean of and it can mean from. So the example that they gave you is ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Yo soy de Wisconsin. Okay. Then you have ¿De dónde es usted? So again, you see de, and then she responds with Yo soy de Cuba. I am from Cuba. So we use it to express origin as well. These are just some more examples. Es de Argentina, he's from Argentina. Es de Costa Rica, she's from Costa Rica. Another reason we use sed is to express profession or occupation. Don Francisco es conductor. Don Francisco is a driver. Then it has yo soy estudiante. So I am a student. So profession or occupation. Okay. So it says, unlike English, Spanish does not use the indefinite article un or una after sed when referring to professions unless accompanied by an adjective or other description. So we saw that in the previous slide, but this is a clearer example. So it says, Marta es profesora. So in English, that would translate to Marta is a teacher. But notice that a is missing in this Spanish sentence. The only reason we would add un or una here is if it has an adjective behind it. Okay, so then we would do that. So it says Martha is an excellent professor, and you guys will learn adjectives later. Okay, so Martha is an excellent teacher or professor. Okay, so the only time we use an indefinite article is if it has an adjective with it. Okay, if we're simply stating what they are with no adjective, we're just gonna say Marta es profesora. Okay. Alright, so here are some examples for you to fill in. So you need to write the verb, okay, the present tense of sed. So number one, just so I can help you, remember when we looked back at this chart, yo and soy go together. So number one would be yo, and then in the blank you're gonna type soy, S-O-Y, profesora. Okay, yo soy profesora, I am a teacher. Okay, so you guys complete 2 through 12. Okay, if you're at home virtually, pause the video and fill these in your notes. Check to see if you get them right, because I'm gonna post the answer. But complete these first, and then you can hit play again so you can check your answers. Okay, so make sure those are finished. Alright, so this is what you guys should have had. So yo soy profesora, I am a teacher. Tú eres estudiante, you are a student. Okay, Carlos es de Colombia, so we're saying where he's from, so Carlos is from Colombia. And notice here, I used a name, and the reason that I used a name is remember that a subject pronoun takes the place of a noun. Okay, so in this case it's his name, so I went ahead and redid it because you're going to see names also. Okay, so él is also es, Carlo is also es. If I have the word el lápiz, that's also going to be es. El lápiz es rojo. Okay, because I'm talking about one pencil, we're still going to say the pencil is red. Okay, and you'll see that a little bit more often. Number 5 says María es una estudiante inteligente. Remember, I use the article here because there's an adjective back here. Okay, and then I took the place of her name and I replaced it with the subject pronoun and I said ella es una estudiante inteligente. So the same thing for number 7. Julio y yo somos de Puerto Rico. So now I replaced Julio y yo with the pronoun nosotros somos de Puerto Rico. So we are from Puerto Rico. Okay, number 9, I'm showing possession. Es el cuaderno de Juan. Okay, so notice I used es because it's talking about one item, one notebook. So it's Juan's notebook. Number 10 is plural. So notice that I have more than one notebook. Los cuadernos. So I have to use a plural form, which is going to be son. Okay, so they are Juan's notebook. Number 11, Pedro y Claudia son conductores. So Pedro and Claudia are drivers. And in number 12, I took Pedro and Claudia and I replaced it with the pronoun ellos, and it's still going to be the verb son. Okay, so they are drivers. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will help you in whatever way you need. Like I said, make sure you study what you learned today, and study for 10 minutes. And remember, it's better to memorize these verbs because it is an irregular verb. And make sure you have your pronouns memorized because these are going to be used through the rest of this year and all of next year for Spanish too. Okay, so if you guys have any questions and you need a quick response, send me a remind. If not, you guys can send me an email or comment on Google Classroom.